This lesson is on section 2-6, multiplying integers. So I'm going to have a couple rules for you guys to understand. Rule number 1 is that if two numbers have different signs, then their product is negative. So for example, -3 times +4 equals -12. -3 and 4 have different signs, so their product is negative. The next rule I'm going to have you understand is that if two numbers have the same sign, then their product is positive. So for example, -3 times -4 is +12 because -3 and -4 have the same sign. They're both negative. So let's go through some examples here. All right, so this is the same way of writing 5 times -2. Again, you can just separate the 5 and the -2 with parentheses, and that really means just 5 times -2. So again, this is the same thing as just writing 5 times -2. So I'm going to say, okay, well, their signs, so 5 is positive and -2 is negative, so the signs are different. So I know the product is going to have to be negative. So I'm going to say, well, 5 times 2 is 10, and it has to be -10 because their signs are different. So that's my answer. As easy as that. All right, let's look at the next example. Example 2 says -3 times +7. All right, well, again, their signs are different. So I know that the product has to be negative. So I'm going to say to myself, okay, well, 3 times 7 is 21, and I have to add that negative sign because they have different signs. So -3 times +7 is -21. Example 3. So I have -6 times -9. Well, I'm going to say the signs this time are the same. So I know if the signs are the same, then the product has to be positive. Okay, so 6 times 9 is 54. And because their signs are the same, then it has to be positive 54. You can put a plus sign, but I want to get you guys out of the habit of not even having to write that. So I'm just going to erase that, and you're going to say that your answer is just positive 54. So now I throw in an exponent here, but again, it's not super difficult. We're going to say this example says -7 to the second power. So I can rewrite this as saying -7 times -7. Remember, that means -7 2 times. So -7 times -7. Now what I'm going to say is that their signs are the same. So I know if the signs are the same, then the answer is going to be positive. Okay, so I say 7 times 7 is 49. And I know signs are the same, so it's positive. So the answer is just positive 49. My next example is to simplify -2 times 6c. So all I need to do here is use that distributive property that we learned about in last chapter. All we're going to do is we're going to take the -2 and we're going to multiply it just by the items inside here. So I'm going to say -2 times 6, and then I'm going to add the c at the end. So the c is going to go into my answer. So I'm going to first just say, well, -2 times 6, well, the signs are going to be different. So now if the signs are different, then the answer has to be negative. So I'm going to say -2 times 6 is -12. And then all I'm going to do is add that c at the end. So my answer is just -12c. My last example is, again, it has a variable in it, and it says to simplify. Actually, I never mentioned this to you in the last example. Simplify means that we can't get a final answer, okay? You're going to have your variable in your answer, your letter in your answer, attached with a number. So we don't really know what -12c is. We're just simplifying the expression. So for this example, to simplify again, we're not finding an answer, we're just simplifying what this expression is saying. So I'm just going to multiply 2 to whatever's inside those parentheses. So I'm going to say, okay, well, 2 times 5, well, and we know what 2 times 5 is. We don't even have to worry about those signs. 2 times 5 is 10, and then I'm just going to attach the x at the end. So this is 10 times x, or 10x. And that brings me to the end of the lesson. I hope that you found multiplying integers to be fairly simple. Thanks for watching.